Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dog Behavior 101. I'm so glad that you are joining us for this presentation. This presentation will go over information of dog behavior that will help you to improve your relationship with the dogs in your lives. So first of all, just an introduction of me. My name is Camille Couet, and I am a volunteer with the East Bay SPCA, but I am here not representing them at all. I'm just here representing myself, and I'm going to be presenting on dog behavior, a lot of which I have learned about while being a volunteer at the SPCA. I am a volunteer with the Behavior and Training Department, which is it's a small group of volunteers who have gone through extra training in dog behavior so that we can work with dogs at the shelter that have certain behavioral issues that the shelter staff want to work on with the dog in order to make them adoptable. And so in order to work with these dogs, we've had to go through special training in dog behavior. And so going through those trainings and working at the SPCA as a volunteer for the last 7 years has given me great insight into dog behavior, and I want to share that with all of you. So here are the main takeaways for our presentation. I'm going to go into more depth in these in a second, but just to quickly recap them. So the first is understanding dog behavior will improve the relationship you have with the dogs in your life and will improve the lives of your dogs. The second is to understand dog behavior, you must study it. The third takeaway is spend time getting to know your dog as an individual. The next one is respect your dog's feelings and choices, because remember that they have a right to them. Next, I really want to highlight the importance of choice. Choice is one of the greatest reinforcers that you can offer your dog. And lastly, don't punish communication. This is really important, and again, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but instead you want to prevent triggers whenever possible. So what do these main takeaways mean? So understanding dog behavior will improve the relationship you have with the dogs in your life and will improve the lives of your dogs. So understanding dog behavior basically allows you to better interpret your dog's feelings. So to better understand when your dog or any dog that you're around is feeling uncomfortable, anxious, or fearful. And when you're able to identify those feelings in a dog, it goes a long way to helping prevent negative encounters between dogs and people, dogs and other dogs, dogs and other animals. So it's really important to be able to identify these feelings in dogs. And being able to identify when your dog is uncomfortable also helps you better understand what your dog likes and dislikes. So a great example is that a lot of people take their dogs to the dog park because they kind of just assume their dog likes the dog park. But the dog park is actually really stressful for a lot of dogs. And so being able to identify when your dog is uncomfortable might give you better insight into whether they actually enjoy the dog park or not. Another important one that dog behavior can show you is where your dog likes to be touched and not touched. And that's a really important thing, with dogs, is being able to identify feelings like that when you touch them on certain spots, and also how they might feel around different people. So how are they feeling, with a child in the room or a stranger in the room? Being able to identify if your dog is uncomfortable in the moment can help you change the environment before a negative encounter happens. And so once you are able to better understand what your dog likes and dislikes and when they are uncomfortable, you can make choices that improve their lives and strengthen the bond between you. So to understand dog behavior, you must study it. And this is something I didn't know. I had grown up with dogs all my life, and I thought I understood dog behavior really well. But it wasn't until I actually took classes on dog behavior at the SPCA that I realized that there's so much behavior that is not intuitive to us. There's so much between tail wagging and growling that we wouldn't know is indication of feelings unless we're actually told. So we're going to go over those things. And so you have to study it like you would a new language. And the other thing about dog behavior is that you always need to put it into context. So into context of the specific situation you're in, but also into context of the specific dog that's doing it. So next, spend time getting to know your dog as an individual. So each dog has preferences, opinions, fears, anxieties, likes, and dislikes, just like us, right? And you have to remember they have a right to these feelings. So spend time learning as much as possible about the preferences of the dogs in your lives so that you can make adjustments to better their lives and to better your relationship with them. It's really important that you respect their feelings, even if their feelings are not what you would want them to feel. So you may wish that your dog was more social than it is. A lot of people, want their dog to always come down when they have people over or have parties and be kind of part of the action. But not every dog has that kind of personality. And if they don't want to socialize, then they have the right to choose not to do that. So that's just one example. Choice is one of the greatest reinforcers you can offer your dog. So I found this so interesting, but studies have shown that having control and choice over their environment is as rewarding for dogs as food and treats, which is kind of amazing. So letting them know that they have agency over their own lives to the degree that they can will show them that you respect their choices. And that will improve not only their own lives, but also will strengthen the bond between you two. So very importantly, don't punish communication. So it's very important that your dog feels safe communicating their feelings to you. A dog who does not feel safe communicating can end up acting out aggressively without warning because their warnings, their communications, go either ignored or punished. So even if your dog is communicating something to you that you don't particularly like, don't punish them for sharing their feelings, because remember, they have a right to those feelings, even if they're not exactly what you want them to feel. So adjust the environment or your behavior in order to make them feel comfortable. And I think this is a really important one that I really like to talk about when I can. But growling is a really important form of communication and should not be punished. No one wants their dog to growl. So if you can, you want to identify the things that make them so uncomfortable that they growl and try and prevent those situations from occurring. But you don't want to punish growling or any other form of communication, because what can happen is that a dog can learn that it's not safe or effective to give these warning signs of their fear or their uncomfortableness. And when they learn that it's not safe or effective to do that, they can skip these warning signs altogether. They can learn to skip these warning signs altogether and just sometimes go straight to a bite, because dogs know that biting is very effective. When they bite someone or something and they see that it immediately gets them what they want, which is usually space, and that the growling didn't get them that, instead the growling was ignored or punished, they can learn that growling or other forms of warning doesn't work, and instead of providing those warnings, they just go straight to a bite. It's really hard to train a dog to go backwards in time and to give warning after they've learned that warnings don't work. So you always want to respect communication, respect warning signs, and don't punish it, but identify the things that get your dog to that emotional place and try and prevent those situations from happening. So what are the most common fear behaviors? So we're going to go over really common behaviors like lip licking, shake-offs. Lip licking and shake-offs are the most common ones that I see working with dogs. And until I took a class on dog behavior, I had seen dogs do them all the time because dogs do them all the time, but I had never associated them with meaning. But they have meaning and they're very common. So we're going to look at lip licks, shake-offs, There's panting, things, and then this is where you have to put dog behavior into context, because things like panting, yawning, scratching, those things can all be signs of anxiety. But they can also be signs of other things, right? If your dog just went on a really long run, it's panting not because of anxiety, but because it's tired or hot. Again, if it's at night and your dog just had dinner and it's kind of relaxing on its bed and it's at home and really comfortable, it gives out a big yawn, that's most likely not a sign of anxiety. It's just a sign that it's comfortable and tired. But in different contexts, these things are signs of anxiety and fear. So we're going to look at that. And a big one is moving away. So dogs will try to avoid conflict. And what they usually do is move away or look away in order to show that they're not interested in engaging and they want space. And oftentimes people just don't pick up on that, or they just, even if we love dogs, we don't tend to respect their feelings enough to give them space when they clearly ask for it. So we're going to be looking at that a lot as well. So what is the behavior of a friendly social dog? So you're looking for things like loose and wiggly bodies, horizontal tails, soft, relaxed, squinty eyes, open mouths, relaxed muscles. In general, you're just looking for a relaxed and loose behavior in the face, in the body, in the tail. So let's look at some videos of what we mean by this. So what I want to do right off is talk about what is a lip lick and what is a shake off. So right there was a lip lick, and right here is a shake off. So that is a shake off. A lip lick, you saw it right there again. So this dog is doing a lot of lip licking, lip lick, a little bit of a whale eye there. So a whale eye is when their eyes get really big and you can see the whites around their eyes. So let's go back and just make sure this is clear. So we've got some lip licking. So that's a lip lick. That's what we're talking about when we say a lip lick, and that's a shake off. That's what we're talking about when we say shake off. So you're seeing some clear signs here of some anxiety, but what is also important to note is that the dog is choosing to reduce the space between himself and myself, and that's key here. And so putting this anxiety into context, see, that's another shake off, lip lick, lip lick. So putting this anxiety into context, that this dog is really excited that I've come to visit him in his kennel at the shelter. He thinks, oh, we're probably going to go outside. I love going outside, and that's really exciting. And so you are seeing some signs of anxiety, but it's more of an excitement anxiety than a fearful anxiety. So how do I know? Well, I know because of this, right? The dog is choosing to decrease space between himself and myself. So even though there's some anxiety, you're also seeing a lot of friendly body language. So choosing to come over, getting on my lap, and that kind of behavior helps me put these signs of anxiety into context. So you're going to see some of those same behaviors with the sweet boy. So there's a big lip lick right there, lip lick. He heard some noise outside, wondering what that is. But what you're also seeing, right, is some pretty relaxed facial expressions. So the body's loose, the tail's loose and going back and forth. And he is choosing again to decrease space between the two. So there's a big lip lick there. So, put into context, I brought a leash with me into the room. So he knows we're going on a walk. He's super excited about it, but that excitement is also showing itself in some anxiety. So there you see a bit of a shake off. So he's showing some anxiety behaviors, but it's excitement. So So what you're seeing again is just some kind of relaxed facial expressions. Eyes are soft, ears aren't, tucked way back on the head or really forward. They're just kind of relaxed and loose. So he's this is a relaxed, friendly dog that has some excitement, anxiety, because we're going to go for a walk soon. And here we are out on a walk. So again, I just want to point out this body language, right? So she's excited to be out there, and you can see that there's just no tension in her body, right? The tail wag isn't stiff. Oh, there's a bit of a lip lick there. So it's not a stiff tail. The speed of the tail is, pretty normal. Sometimes you'll see a tail wag, but it goes back really slowly because there's some tension. So she's just relaxed. You can see some lip licking. It's very possible that part of that lip licking is because I have a camera pointed at her, which can make a lot of dogs a bit uncomfortable. But in general, what you're seeing here is very kind of loose and relaxed body language from her. She's sniffing, which is a really calming behavior for dogs. And her whole backside is just kind of loose. This is just kind of a good example of some, and you can see her eyes are soft when she looks at me, and her ears are just kind of to the side and loose and relaxed. Okay, so nervous and fearful behavior. So these are the behaviors that we really want to be able to identify when we're working with dogs. So again, what you're going to be looking for are things like whale eye, which I mentioned earlier, where you can see the whites of the eyes, and you can see that here in the two pictures of the dogs here. Oftentimes, a whale eye occurs in dogs who are very fearful because their body is very stiff. And so instead of turning their head completely to look at to see what they're looking at, their head will be very stiff and they'll just move their eyes. And that's when you'll get a lot of that whites of the eyes showing. So what you really want to be looking for is like a stiffness of the body. And that oftentimes will come with a whale eye because they're not moving their heads, they're just moving their eyes. So ears that are tucked back, kind of really tight against their head. Tails that are tucked, you can see that clearly here with the white dog. It has a big tucked tail, tense closed mouth, kind of a lowered body. So just look for tension in the body and in the face and in the mouth. And you also want to be very cognizant of what their movement is. If they're moving away from you, or if they're looking away from you. So anything that's not engaging, anything that's not towards you in a way, means that they're nervous about you or whatever's coming towards them or what's near them. They're trying to provide space between them and the thing that's making them uncomfortable. Again, you're going to probably see lip licking, perhaps cowering, and they may growl or at this point or bark if they feel pressured. So again, they're trying to avoid confrontation, and so you really need to pick up on these cues in order to help them avoid that confrontation. So if you're seeing any of these signs from a dog, you want to increase space. That's the most important thing. So let's look at some videos of what we're talking about here. So this was me just meeting a new dog at the shelter. So you'll see a lot of lip licking, like you saw with the other dogs, right? But what are you seeing that's different? First of all, you can see that dog has a tucked tail, but the big difference is that it is choosing to increase space between me and herself. And you'll see a lot of lip licking. The ears are back. Again, choosing to increase space. Big lip lick. And then when I give space, then she'll choose to come up, kind of check me out. But oh, no, she's like, I'm not feeling this. You can see the tail's tucked in the back. And so this is an important video I want to show because a lot of times people think that if a dog rolls over and shows their stomach that they're asking for a belly rub. Very often they are not. They are actually asking for the opposite. They're asking for you to give them space. It can be hard to tell the difference. A good rule of thumb is to just not give a belly rub to any dog that you are not incredibly familiar with. Because some dogs can be kind of very wiggly and seem very happy, but still, when they roll over and show their belly, they're really they're asking for some space. So how do you know the difference? The key is that you need to move really slowly so that you can give them time to relay their feelings back to you. So this guy, you'll see, as soon as I go near him, he turns, he goes down and he rolls on his back. So how do I know he doesn't want a belly rub? So again, you have to move slowly and read the signals. So one is that you see a bit of a whale eye here, right? And you'll see that he turns and looks as far away from me as possible. That is a clear indication that he is not asking for a belly rub. He is asking to be left alone and for me to move away from him. So again, you'll see as I remove my hand, he'll look towards me. And then as soon as I reach towards him again, he looks away. So if you move too quickly, you could be on that dog and touching its belly before it has time to look away and before you have time to process his looking away and what that means. So move slowly so that you give time to the dog to tell you how they feel about a certain situation so you can respond to it. Now, sometimes behaviors of a dog who wants space are not super obvious. They can be quite subtle. If a dog wants to engage with you, it's pretty clear. Again, it will come towards you. It will decrease space. It would have a relaxed, loose body. And so this dog is clearly telling me that it does not want to engage with me, but the signs can be quite subtle. So let's look at this, right? So first of all, as I'm walking towards him, he's not looking at me. He's not kind of giving me any sense of engagement. And what's he doing? He's messing with the fence and he's messing with the grass, right? He's sniffing the fence and the grass. I'm reaching towards him and he starts eating the grass. So you might look at this and think, oh, he's really interested in the grass or he's really interested in the smells on the fence. But that's not really what's going on. What's really going on is he's trying to give me a clear signal that he doesn't want me to reach towards him. He doesn't want me to come closer. He, in fact, wants me to move away. He's not interested in engaging with me. So these kind of what we call displacement behaviors. So he's uncomfortable with me being this close to him. And so he's decided, instead of dealing with this, the person's making me uncomfortable, I'm going to lay down over here. I'm going to sniff the fence. I'm going to mess with this grass. I'm going to do stuff to distract me from my uncomfortable feelings with this person. I'm going to try to show this person I'm not interested in engaging. And hopefully she'll back up and leave me alone. Right. So when you see a dog kind of doing these things, sniffing something or engaging with something that's away from you, oftentimes it's a sign that they are uncomfortable and nervous about you being so close and that they want space. So unless a dog is like actively lessening the amount of space between you, they probably are asking for you to back away. So if a dog is looking away or doing something that's not focused towards you, it means that they're really not interested in you approaching them at that time. Okay, so this is another dog who I'm just meeting for the first time, and you'll be able to see that her fear behaviors are quite clear, right? So what do we kind of notice at first? She has this very nervous, furrowed brow. Her brows are kind of knitted together, and she looks very, very nervous, right? She has her paw up, another sign of fear, anxiety. And and she has these kind of nervous eyes. And what happens when I reach towards her. You'll see a lip lick there, a whale eye, but she's looking away, right? She doesn't want to engage. She's not coming towards me. Lip lick, scared little brow, and you can actually see that her legs are shaking. And I reach towards her and she looks away. She says, "No, thank you. I don't know you. I don't want you coming near me." You can see her tail is, tight. Her body is tense. Her mouth is tense. Big lip lick. And she's not doing anything to decrease space between the two of us. And what you see there is a big yawn. So what I talked about a little earlier was putting behavior into context. In this context, that yawn is not because she's tired, right? You can see she's shaking. You can see how scared she is. She's not in a relaxed enough state to be yawning because she's tired or relaxed. She's yawning because she's very nervous and she's trying to calm herself down. So this is where you can put something like a yawn into context and say, oh, you're yawning because you're trying to relax yourself. It's just another indication that she's giving to me that she's uncomfortable. Poor girl. So again, reach towards her, lip lick, look away. Not interested. But then I respected her feelings. I just sat there. I stopped reaching for her. I stopped trying to engage with her. I said, I get it. You don't want to engage. I'm just going to sit here quietly and, respect your feelings about that. And if you do that and dogs see like, okay, you are reading my signals, you're understanding my feelings, and you're respecting my feelings, you can quickly kind of build up that bond of trust, right? So maybe 10 minutes later, what you'll see is I reach towards her and you're seeing a very different kind of behavior. When I reach, she's choosing to decrease the space between herself and my hand. Before she was looking away, now she's coming towards my hand. So she's still a little, you can see her brows, she's still a little nervous, but she's choosing to decrease the space. And so I'm able to just kind of give her a little pet and see how she feels about it. This is something called a consent check. So you pet for 3 seconds, you stop and see what the dog chooses to do. If after you stop, the dog chooses to move away or look away, then they're probably not comfortable with that petting in that time. But you'll see that after I stopped petting her in the situation, she actually chose to come towards me and give me a little hand nudge. So she was saying, oh, I liked that. Maybe we could do some more petting. So again, a few seconds of petting and stop and see what the dog does, right? Again, she's choosing to stay close to me. She's not moving away. Interesting. She said, what's in that treat bag you have? I'm sure I had some meat and some cheese in there. She's getting those smells. There you go, a little shake off. She's kind of relaxing. She's getting out some of that anxiety that she had built up by shaking her body off. It's always a good idea to pet a dog on the side of its face and under its chin rather than on the top of its head. You'll do see that I pet her on the top of her head a bit, which isn't ideal. But again, side of the cheek, under the chin is really usually what dogs prefer. Oh, she's doing a big stretch here, which is a great sign for me. I mean, she's starting to feel a lot more comfortable around me, and she's just like, oh, let me get rid of some of that remaining anxiety I was feeling. So she's just kind of stretching it out. And it's just a sign that she's starting to relax. So that's great. So again, you just want to see that before she was trying to increase distance, and now she's choosing to decrease distance between us. And so you can see that change in behavior. And now she's like decreasing it even more. She says, now I'm going to be a lap dog. So this video is actually of my family dog, so my mom's dog. So this first video is of him at home. This is a video of him relaxed. So you will see a lip lick, but I can put that into context for you. I had just given him a cookie, a treat. And so the lip lick probably has to do with the fact that he just ate a treat. It could also have to do with the fact that I'm holding a camera in his face. But in general, what you're going to see here is just relaxed behavior, right? Nothing much is going on. He's just hanging out at home. There's a lip lick I mentioned. But he's just loose, and his tail's just kind of in a neutral place, going back and forth a little bit. But he's just hanging out. There's nothing tense about his body. Although you are seeing a bunch of lip licks. Again, I think that's food related. Okay, and this video is of the same dog. We had just gone for a swim and we're walking back to the car. And so you're going to see much different behavior here. So again, key is looking for what is the mouth doing. So you're starting to see some kind of panting here, and you're starting to see very slow movement. So at this point, he just stalls. He just stops, right? And you can see things are getting tense. His body's getting tense. He's moving very slowly, very cautiously, and he's starting to look away. So, right, what's happening is that there are people approaching us on the trail, and that makes him very nervous. He's very nervous around people and dogs he doesn't know. And so there are people approaching us on the trail in the distance. He sees them, and he's starting to become really uncomfortable in the situation. So you'll see those people are coming towards him, and he starts looking away from them to the side of the road because there's a conflict approaching, and as he's trying to avoid the conflict, he'll be looking away from the conflict. You'll see a bunch of lip licks going on. And, this kind of hyper-vigilant behavior. Looking away, not sure what to do. And then you can kind of see here he gets totally tense, right? Tail is straight down. The mouth closes up. He's looking straight ahead. There's nothing about his body language that is relaxed. His mouth is tense. His tail is down. His body is tense. And he's still. And he's trying to figure out, what do I do? How do I get out of this? And so, what I always do in these situations is just call him over and just kind of get in between him and the stranger is approaching, and we just stay on the side of the road and hang out until they pass. But again, that has a lot to do with getting to know your dog, right? And understanding what kind of behavior they show when they're uncomfortable and what kind of situations they're uncomfortable in, and doing what you can to change the environment. So it makes him very uncomfortable when we pass people on trails, but I'm never going to scold him for it. It is his personality. It is his trigger. And so what we do is we just try and pull over to the side of the road. Maybe we kind of go off the road a bit, get behind a tree or something so that he feels more space between him and the people approaching, and he feels more comfortable. And then as soon as they've passed us, we can move forward. And this last video I want to show is important because it talks about touch. And it's really important to better understand where our dogs like to be touched and don't touched. So what you're going to see here is that as soon as I get my hand, and this was actually the dog we saw earlier who kept moving away from me. So again, you know, slowly we built up some trust, and he came over. But you'll see as soon as I get near his back end, he looks at my hand. So it's right. I'm petting. Oh, I get back there, and he looks directly at my hand. What he's saying is, I don't like that. He's saying, I don't like you touching me there. And the fact that he kept telling me he didn't like it, and I didn't listen to him, and I kept doing it, means that he's going to walk away from me, increase space. Okay, so what are you seeing here, right? You're seeing some grooming, you're seeing some scratching. So again, these are behaviors that need to be put into context. Given the context of the situation, the fact that this dog is kind of just getting used to me and that I'm touching it in places it doesn't like, again, these behaviors are showing me that it's uncomfortable. The scratching is most likely not because it has an itch. It's because it's nervous. It's trying to calm itself down. So it's doing some of these behaviors to give it something else to focus on besides how uncomfortable I'm making it, and to kind of try and tell me that it's uncomfortable. So the scratching and the grooming in a situation like this, where you know the dog is nervous, are additional signs of it being nervous. So you see some big lip licks there. And he says, okay, well, let's try this again. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Now, normally I would never go back and touch it, but I was trying to capture this behavior on video, so you'll see me do it again. So as soon as I touch him back there, he looks directly at my hand. He's saying, I don't like when you touch me there. So, okay, right, I get it. You don't like that. Let's keep all of the petting, above the shoulders. So these are kinds of things that you can do with your own dog or any dog. Go slowly, pet them in different places slowly and gently, and watch their behaviors. And you can start to understand areas where they don't like being touched, and then you can not touch them there. And you can also, tell other people if they come over and are engaging with your dog, oh, make sure you don't, touch him on his hindquarters. He doesn't like that. And again, that just it goes far to create a life that is really good for your dog. And it also helps other people to be safe around your dog, and for your dog to kind of build up those bonds with you and with other people, because they are being treated with, respect. But you'll see again, this dog is choosing to decrease space between us. I'm no longer going to be touching it where it doesn't want to be touched, so we can kind of increase our trust in our bond. I'm not sure if there's anything else in this video. Let's see. You'll see a kind of, this dog's conflicted, which is common. He's like, I kind of like you, I kind of don't like you, I don't know. Again, you'll see some scratching here. Oh, big yawn. Grooming. So in this context, these are all behaviors that indicate some stress and anxiety. They do not indicate that the dog is tired or that the dog is itchy. They indicate that the dog is nervous, trying to distract itself, trying to calm itself down. You see a lot of lip licking going on. And you see, that it's increased distance between himself and myself. So all of those help put this scratching and grooming and yawning behavior into context as being signs of anxiety. Okay, Okay. So I don't have videos of this behavior because if you see this, you should not be taking a video. You should be moving away as quickly as possible. But these are behaviors you'll see if a dog has decided that avoidance is not working. Its communication that it is uncomfortable and nervous is being ignored. And so instead of trying to increase space, it's decided that it's going to have to defend itself and it's decreasing space. So things like hard stare, a square frontal alignment with the thing that's making it uncomfortable, ears that are like very pinned back or very alert and forward, a forward body weight, and just all around tense, right? Tense muscles, tense face, tense jaw, snarling, growling. These are all signs that a dog is, these are like the last end warning signs before a dog is going to, you know, probably try and bite you. So again, hopefully all the behaviors that we just talked about will help you prevent from getting in a situation like this. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to pick up on the more subtle early signs of a dog being fearful and uncomfortable so that we can identify them and respect them, increase space, change the situation, change the environment, so that we don't get to this situation of a forward and defensive dog. So another important thing in terms of putting dog behavior into context is something called trigger stacking. And the best way to kind of think about this, put it in a human context, is if you've had a really long, difficult day at work and you come home and there are some like dirty socks on the floor, you might just like lose it and yell at someone for leaving their dirty socks on the floor and get so upset about it. Where on a day which you had a good day at work and you feel calm and relaxed coming home, you see some dirty socks on the floor, you might just pick them up and put them in the laundry instead of yelling at someone. So it's the same thing with dogs, right? Depending on their day, they can react differently to things depending on kind of how stressed out their day has made them. So what you see here in this example of trigger stacking is a dog really wants to go for a walk and they've been waiting. They know it's kind of like walk time, but they're waiting and waiting, and kind of that frustration, anxiety of going on a walk is building up. Then they get in a car ride to go to the park, and say that car ride, say there's traffic and the car ride takes a half an hour. The anticipation and anxiety is building. And then you put them on the leash. They're so excited to be going on a walk that they start pulling, right? And then you're like scolding them and you're yanking the leash, and that's going to build up their stress even more. And then by the time that dog meets another dog on leash, its stress level is so high that it might have a reaction, right? Like a lunging or barking. And so you want to always keep in mind when you're putting dog behavior into context of trigger stacking, of the amount of stress that dog has experienced throughout the day and how that may be impacting their behavior. So if your dog has had a very stressful day, maybe it went to the vet in the morning, which is not a place that your dog likes, it's probably not a good day to then have them do other things later in the day that they aren't used to doing. Like, it's probably not a great idea to have, strangers over or children over or something. You just want to keep in mind the stress level of your dog and the things they've experienced throughout the day and how that might impact their behavior, their interactions with other people, other animals. And levels of stress. So again, studying dog behavior and putting it into context of what you know about your own dog and what you understand about the particular situation that they're in can help you understand the difference between a bit of anxiety and like a preparation for fight or flight. So again, you can click on this link and take a closer look at the stress escalation ladder. But basically, it just kind of goes over what the different levels of stress that dogs are showing with different behaviors. And the displacement behaviors like sniffing, scratching, yawning are kind of at the lowest level often for most dogs, but every dog is different, of showing stress. And then you'll see it kind of climb up. So being able to know which behaviors are showing different levels of stress is a really good thing to be able to know for your dog. So if if you can grab a piece of paper and a pencil, maybe you have one nearby, or you can keep a mental note. But this is just a kind of a quick, what do you see moment, right? So now that we've kind of talked about different behaviors, in this picture, what do you see? How do you think this dog is feeling? And what behaviors do you see this dog showing that could help you identify how this dog is feeling? So just take 15 seconds and jot down any behaviors that you're seeing in this picture. Okay, let's take a look. So hopefully you got some of them. So one we're seeing, so we're seeing clearly, right, a very tucked tail. We're seeing a whale eye here. So if this dog was really relaxed, it probably would be turning completely around, so that its head was coming towards the woman's head. Instead, it's super tense, and it's just kind of looking at her sideways. So you can see the whale eye. You can see the mouth is super tense. It's so tense, you can even see this muscle showing on the mouth. So a lot of dogs do not like being touched kind of on their hindquarters, as you saw with the video of the other dog. This dog is clearly telling this woman that it does not want her to be doing what she is doing. She seems oblivious to that. But hopefully now, with what you've learned, if you were in this situation and you saw this dog behaving like this, you would know, oh, I need to step back and move away because it's uncomfortable. So one more. So take 20 seconds and jot down behaviors that you see in these two pictures that might help you identify how the dog is feeling. Okay, so in the first picture here we have, you'll see whale eyes, you'll see kind of a knitted brow. This mouth is very tense, right? You can see that the front of the mouth is tense, the whiskers are forward, and you'll see this dog is trying to move away, right? The body is tilted away from the child. And that's also what's happening, sorry about that. That's also what's happening in the second picture. It may be hard to see, but if this dog was actually interested in this child's face, being so close to his face, he would be looking at the kid. He would be looking at the kid and kissing the kid. And instead, to the extent that is possible, since she's got such a tight grip, this dog is trying to look away and push away as much as it can. So these two images are with children, but I see adults do this stuff all the time. Everyone wants to kiss dogs. For the most part, dogs hate when other faces are close to their faces, just like we hate it, just like humans hate it, dogs hate it, even our own dogs. And I do sometimes kiss and hug my dog. I'm guilty, just like most of us are, but I also know that he doesn't like it. I mean, when I go in to give him a kiss, he looks away. So I know he doesn't like it. I also know that, bless his heart, he will tolerate it from me because he knows me and he trusts me. And so I do sometimes do it, even though I know it's not his favorite thing. But it's good to just know that, right? Because I would never allow someone he doesn't know to get that close to him because I know he doesn't like it. So again, anytime a dog is trying to increase space, move away, lean away, it means that they want you to change your behavior in order to increase space between you and them. And also, good rule of thumb, never a good idea to put your face near another dog's face. So just kind of to summarize assessing behavior. So what you always want to do first is allow for space and watch behavior. If you're allowing for space, what's the dog doing? Is the dog choosing to decrease space between you and itself or to increase space? Then you can reduce the space and attempt an action, and then again, watch for behavior. You need to move slowly so that you can adjust your behavior as you learn what makes the dog uncomfortable and comfortable. Implement consent checks. Again, so that's with petting, that would be petting for 3 seconds, and then you stop and see if the dog chooses to increase space or decrease space. Always put behavior into context, into the context of the situation, into the context of your own individual dog, and also think about things like trigger stacking. How much stress has the dog had that might give you more information about the behavior you're seeing? And understand that behavior is not static, and it will change as the environment changes, as triggers stack up, or as your dog changes over time. So an example of the last one would be as a dog ages, there are certain parts of their body that may become sore. So there are places on their body that they didn't mind being touched when they were younger, but as they get older, they may really not like being touched in those spots. So again, it's just kind of constantly learning about your dog as they change with time, what they're comfortable with. So I'm not going to read this quote. Hopefully these slides will be available. You can click on this link if you want. But again, I just want to emphasize the importance of growling as a communication tool, because I know I grew up in a family who punished growling, and I see people punish it all the time. And I understand why. Like, it's a scary thing to have your dog growl at you. It's embarrassing to have your dog growl at someone else or another dog. That's how humans experience it. And so we often will punish it either out of fear or embarrassment. But it's a really important communication tool that dogs have. It's the equivalent, in human world of them saying, I'm really uncomfortable, like, please stand back, please move away. And they have a right to say that, just like we have a right to say it. So again, it's important to not punish it, because if you start punishing growling, they can learn that growling doesn't work, and they can just go straight to biting, and it's hard to recover from that. And so again, you just kind of want to identify what situations make your dog so uncomfortable that they'll growl, and try and prevent them. And this is a really great article on growling as a behavior. If you have time to click on the link and read the article, I suggest you do that. So a last note on choice. So dogs have very little control over their own lives, right? We control where they go, when they go, who they interact with, how they interact, whether it's on leash or off leash. So trying to identify areas where your dog can have control and reinforce them is always great. So for example, let them sniff on walks. Sniffing is a very calming behavior for dogs. I always get kind of sad when I see people walking their dogs and their dog stops to try and sniff something and the person keeps yanking them. Dog stops, sniff, and they get yanked. Let them sniff. Might make for a slow walk, but it will do a lot for your dog's mental health. If you can, let them choose the walk. They may have preferences about where they go. If you can see that they have a preference and a choice, let them make the decision. Importantly, let them decide whether they socialize or not. Again, not every dog likes to socialize, or maybe there are certain days when your dog's just not feeling up to it. Let them make that choice whether or not they're going to engage and socialize. And implement consent checks to allow your dog to opt out of touch whenever they feel like it. So as a final review, the main takeaways that I hope that you'll walk away from this presentation with are: dogs are always communicating their feelings with their body, so pay attention. To understand what they are saying, you must spend time learning about dog behavior, because a lot of it is not intuitive. And then also get to know the particular dog as an individual and put their behavior into the context of the specific situation in which they give it. Dogs are sentient beings with their own inner emotional lives, and they have a right to their feelings and preferences. Don't punish communication. Instead, do what you can to prevent triggers whenever possible. And lastly, work to increase and reinforce their ability to make choices about their own lives. And that will improve their lives, as well as increase the trust and bond in your relationship with them. So my last slide is just some good resources. The East Bay SPCA has a behavior and training library with information on it and resources about behavior. Definitely, if you're having any sort of behavior issues or want some information about training, I see I spelled training incorrectly here. I apologize. Check out their resources page. They also have classes, and they are doing classes in COVID. They're different kinds. Obviously, I think some are online, or they're only doing single-person classes. But anyway, as we get back to normal life, that will change. So definitely consider training classes with the SPCA if you're looking for some training. And then I also really like the infographics provided by Trailblazing Tales. This is it's a company that does dog walking, and they've put together some really good infographics on dog behavior, especially when it comes to children and dogs and how they should be interacting and the kind of information that children should know and be taught about interacting with dogs. And also, and my email is down here. If you have specific questions, please feel free to email me. But also, probably most importantly, is the real world is your best resource. So take all the information that you've learned in this presentation and go out into the world and watch it when you can, right? Whenever you see a dog outside in the real world, watch how that dog's behaving. If you have your own dog, watch how it's behaving in different situations. So look for these behaviors that we've discussed to see how dogs use them in real life in different situations. So thanks so much for participating in this presentation.